How's it going, everybody? It's Wingdings, and today, if you know how to read, if you know how to click on videos that you read the title to, today we're talking about 5 cards that have done nothing but let me down as of to date right now. To keep it simple and concise, we're doing 5 cards, one of each color, and to get all the YouTube nonsense out of the way, if you like this video, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment other ideas or cards that have let you down recently, and without further adu, let's get into it. We're starting off with blue today for a card that's done nothing but let me down, and it is Foil. Now, as you can see on screen, Foil is just a counter spell, costs 2 generic and 2 blue. That, for its alternative cost, you can pitch a blue card and an island from your hand to counter a spell for free. Now, as commander players, and anyone who's not commander players, we love casting spells for free. We love countering spells for free. It's such a good feeling when you go, gotcha, bitch, and you counter someone's spell. And this says, hey, I'll let you counter a spell for just a little bit extra effort and a little bit less money. But to call this the budget version of Force of Will is like calling a shit sandwich a budget version of the Whopper. It just can't compare. And while at first I thought this card is going to be great, this card is basically like a budget Force of Will. At least that's what I had heard, what all the rumors around town were, across the street, all the children playing were all talking about how Foil was just the budget version of Force of Will, but it's not. It's just so bad that you can't even compare the two. What makes this so much worse than Force of Will or even Force of Negation is that extra island, because just having an extra card that you have to pitch is bad enough, but the fact that it has to be specific to an island makes this card only usable in certain cases, being you have a blue spell and an island in your hand that you chose not to play. Because why would you not choose to play the island? Everyone wants extra mana. That means you have to forego your land drop if you only have one island in your hand to maybe counter a spell for free. And that reduction of casting it for free becomes very, very bad at that point. If you think of it from a card advantage scenario, it becomes increasingly worse. If you and an opponent have 7 cards in your hand and you counter one of their spells, they're down to 6 while you're down to 4. That is not a good rate, especially when obviously every other counterspell, even counterspells that cost mana, would be so much more useful in that case. Sure, you don't have to pay anything for it, but I think the amount you're paying in cards is so much worse than the amount you would have paid in 2 mana to just play normal counterspell. If you're doing CEDH, where you have 30 cards in your hand and you just need a win, you just need a stop, you have all the good counterspells anyways. And if you're doing budget, I wouldn't say pain yourself with this. Just because you're playing the budget doesn't mean you have to play very, very bad cards. It's like if you're not able to afford a Dr. Pepper, so I offer you a can of my own piss instead, right? You're not that down bad for money that you have to play a card like this. If you do play a card like this, I will just give you money at that point. If I see you playing a foil just because you're like, it's a budget, I'd say, no, I will give you $30. Go buy 30 counter spells, please. What's funny is that for a lot of people, foil is probably good, because this list is cards that have let me down. I'm sure a lot of people are going, Foil is an amazing card, and I grace you, and I'm happy for you and your abundance of violence that sit there and do nothing in your hand. But as for me, who decides to play less lands than he needs to, because I like to play fun cards but never actually cast them because I get land fucked every single game, Foil just doesn't do it for me. For the white card that's done nothing but let me down, we have Deep Gnome Tarotmancer. Now, he is very, very situational, so my experience with Deep Gnome Tarotmancer is probably different from a lot of other people's. But for me, in the past 3, and I've counted because it's been 1, so it's not too hard to count. In the past 3 games I've played this guy, I have gotten 1 land from him. That's not a bad ratio. 6 mana to get 1 land is not very good. In theory, he should be getting buttloads of lands, just because, from Kodama's Reaches, Cultivates, Fetch Lands, Wayfarer's Bauble, any color that you're in. Even with stuff like Wayfarer's Bauble or Expedition Map, which actually I don't know if that gets out of the bath. I think it's in your hand. But point is, there are so many Burnished Heart. There we go. There are so many ways in every color to get additional lands. And I'm sure for most play groups, or at least some play groups, people are going, Deep Gnome Tarotmancer is my all-star in the deck. Every time I play him, it's Land City. I'm over here drowning in lands. I could go to a strip club, and they're going like this with planes in their hands. And maybe for some of you, that's true. But for me, it has not been that case. It feels like whenever I spend 2 mana to play Deep Gnome Tarotmancer, everyone else just decides that the new meta is Arcane Signets and Talismans, and there's not a single fetch land to be found. All of a sudden, everyone's playing budget, and they're only playing basic lands. That's what seems to happen every single time I play this little fucker. At this point, it's basically just gambling for me, hitting the slots, and every so often, after spending hundreds of manas, I get a planes my way, and that's enough for my drunk ass to go, well, better keep playing, because I'm going to strike it rich soon, and the strike it rich never comes. It's nothing but disappointment and watching everyone play their Arcane Signets rather than their not arcane signets. For our red card today, we have Audacious Swap. Now, Audacious Swap, in my mind, was going to be a really good Chaos Warp effect, at least in specific decks. So I put it in my Cascade deck. What it does is it's basically essentially the same as Chaos Warp, except it can't hit enchantments, which is a lot more important than you think, but we'll get into it later. And it can hit anything, and they can cast anything. So like Chaos Warp, it's limited to just permanents. You get it on the battlefield. With Audacious Swap, whatever spell they get, they can cast it. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because you can also use it on your own stuff. So get rid of one of your tokens, you can cast something for free off the top of your library, whatever it might be. So I put it in my Cascade deck thinking this card is gonna be great because I can either get something off someone, get rid of something annoying, and sure, they might get a land off it, they might get a spell, but if I need it in a pinch, that's not going to matter to me. Or I can get rid of my own stuff, and it has casualty too, so I can sack a 2/2, get rid of another one of my tokens, or cascade into this spell, exile something of mine. That way I can shuffle my library, cast another spell, and just keep the party going. What ends up happening, for me at least, with my playgroup that is just dominated by Rhystic Studies and Smothering Tides, and basically any annoying enchantment at all, that non-enchantment text becomes just critical to the point where every time I have it in my hand, I go, oh, I should just play Chaos Warp. But I do have Chaos Warp in that deck, so I say, oh, I need to get some enchantment removal in my life because it's always the thing that you need is the thing that you don't have. That's just how Magic the Gathering is. That whenever you say, oh, you know what would be perfect for this situation? Not the fucking card in my hand. That's every single time I play Audacious Swap. And when I think, oh, I'll play it on my own stuff, it's not actually as good as you think because it's at 4 mana. In my mind, it was a steal. Exile a token of mine or like a land, sack 2/2 to get the casualty, exile another token or land, and they get 2 free things off the top of my library. But once you start doing that math, getting rid of 3 of your stuffs plus 4 manas for maybe 2 things off the top of your library is not actually that good. Because if you sacrifice one of your lands, and then a 2/2, and then maybe a token you have, and you get just 2 lands off the top of your library, congratulations, you play the game, and you got fucked. That's why I don't play this card anymore. I took it out of my deck because it did nothing but let me down. I either had it in my hand, couldn't get rid of anything because everything that blighted my life was an enchantment, or use it on my own stuff, realize, hey, I got rid of half my board to do jack shit with it, and I'm none the wiser for it. So, Audacious Swap, while I thought you were going to be a good Chaos Warp variant, and at least my deck, and maybe there's a common theme that I've been saying here with maybe it's been good in your guys' deck, because it's not, this video isn't bad cards, it's just cards that have let me down, and I mean, a lot of these cards that are coming up are kind of chance-based, so that's why they've let me down, while I'm sure they've been great for other people, as I keep reiterating. But sorry, Audacious Swap, I know you're out there watching my video crying your little eyes out that I took you out of the deck, and I'm very... Our penultimate entry, the black card that has done nothing but let me down, is Cunning Rhetoric. I'm gesticulating as if you can see my computer screen, which you cannot, but I'll gesticulate here because now you can see it. What Cunning Rhetoric does is it's kind of your propaganda type where it says, you guys can attack me, but what's it worth to you? But since it's in black, it doesn't really have the pay effects, the taxi effects that, white and blue does. It says, whenever you attack me, I get the top card of your library. And while I thought that this card was going to be good, at least in my Tasha play other people's shit deck, and maybe other decks, depending on how much utility you have for playing your other people's stuff, or if you're trying to do a pillow 40 type of thing, maybe this card would deter people. And I realized for my purposes, at least, this card has been nothing but butts for me, because it either works well, which goes against me, or it doesn't work well, which goes against me. So what I mean is, if this card does what it's supposed to, which is ward off attackers, that's tits, right? That's good. I like my life. I don't like being attacked, but that secondary effect, which is also probably part of the reason you put it in there, doesn't go off. So that's kind of sucks, right? I play this and I play my opponent's stuff deck, and while I enjoy not being attacked, that also means I'm not getting the top card of the library. So this card is a deterrent, but it's also not beneficial to me in the way that I want it to. Or they do attack me, but if it's no matter what, just on attack, it's not for each creature. Every attack, they're going to make it worth it. So if you didn't have this out, they might swing with a 1/1. If you do have this out, they're swinging with 13 1/1s. You get what I mean? It kind of screws me no matter how I play it. Either people don't attack me, so I don't get value out of it, or they do attack me, and since they want me to get less value out of it, they swing more at me. I mean, that's just the psychology of it, right? People are going to do what they can to get the most bang for their buck. So, if it's only a one-time payment fee of smashing my face in, they're going to swing all the creatures they can at me. What's funny is that normally the difference between them swinging one creature at me or their entire board is like a forest, and it's never worth it. I'm sitting there, taken down to 1 life, going, at least I got an opt off their top of their library, so who is the real winner of this game? For the green card that's done nothing but let me down lately, and yes, I am in different clothes because I ran out of storage space and had to record this 2 days later, but we have Noxious Revival. Now, I want you to keep in mind that the title of this video is not cards that I thought were good but are actually really bad, or bad cards that you think are good. It's just cards that have let me down. And I'm openly acknowledging that Noxious Revival is a fantastic card. More people should run it in more green decks. The only reason it's bad for me, and this is going to sound kind of showboaty, is if you have a protection-esque type get my stuff, build back up my shit spell, and your board isn't really getting taken down that much, it's kind of just worthless, and at that point you'd rather just have an extra land drop or something in your hand. You can also use Noxious Survival offensively, you know, just snipe something for 2 mana. You say, oh, you're trying to reanimate that creature? Why don't you put it back on top of that library? Yeah, have fun casting that 9 mana creature the fair way, you cheater. But once again, I haven't had any use for that either. As fun as that feeling and as good as that feeling feels, I haven't needed it. Noxious Revival has been nothing but a brick in my hand. I wonder if it's a good or bad thing that no one's been taking down my shit, so I hadn't had to use Noxious Revival. Because that either means people don't realize I'm the threat, or I'm just actually not the threat and I need to be doing a better job. So maybe if I do a better job, then more people will destroy my shit, then I'll have more use for Noxious Revival. Well, those are my 5 cards for today. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that nice jargon that everyone always has to say, and check out any of my other videos, even though I only have a couple of other videos, and make sure to have a good day.